Welcome in, friends and future friends, to this episode of the Sports and the World podcast. I'm LaDarius, and you know me, and here are my co-hosts as always here, the amazing Hailee Murphy. How are you?
I'm doing great, LaDarius. How are you?
I'm doing great, and this is why behind the scenes it was
A little messy.
for those kids, I know the ACT's been taken, but a kerfuffle. That's what it was. You can't say you don't learn words on this show. That's what it was behind the scenes. Preparation is everything. But anyway, nonetheless, glad you're here, and it's gonna be a relatively same show as all. We're gonna recap the World Cup. We're gonna talk WNBA All-Star weekend. Talk baseball. Sure, trade deadline. We're getting there. We're not gonna talk about the Cubs because they played a team and they lost. We're not gonna talk about that. I don't recall that game even happening.
We can just not talk about this series if you want.
No, yeah, I'm. That's perfectly fine. I'll put it this way: when I saw the score, I'm like, you know what, I'm good. I'm like, you know what, man, I'll go to HBO. I'll go to HBO Max. I'll finish watching the Larry David historical. I'll go watch that. I'm good, and then we'll talk. Great, and then we'll talk a little football, a little other stuff as well. But let's talk about the World Cup. Listen. To be fair, to me it was a push. Like, did France win? No, but I put a little dinero down on Mbappe winning the Golden Boot, which cha-ching. Which I needed a certain player from a certain South American country not to get 2 goals. We know who it is. But I'll just say this. Congrats to Spain, first and foremost. It was, I don't know. I'll just say this and I'll turn the floor over to you because I don't want soccer people coming out. How dare he speak out of his element? Well, a lot of people talk about politics and have nothing. Yeah, this is just a different conversation. but I just feel like on the world, well, you can say the world stage, it just feels that, I don't know. Congrats to Spain. Nothing to take away from Spain. I just think when I look at Messi, and that's the way, it was a great story. But, like, Spain was one of the favorites. I think when France got knocked out, I really believe, okay, I think we're going to get Spain and Argentina. When I saw France get knocked out, I'm like, yeah, we're going to get this matchup. And a lot of people looking at Argentina and they kind of ignored Spain. Maybe you could explain that. So enough about me talking about soccer. That's your 3-minute soccer talk for me for the rest of the show or for the rest of the year. So give me your thoughts on the World Cup, the final, and what you thought of the World Cup overall.
First and foremost, vamos La Roja. So happy Spain won. I know we talked about this a few weeks ago. That was my team going into this. My favorite football players are all on Spain, so for me it was just extra fun. And yeah, it was phenomenal. We ended up watching the final at this place called Plaza Mariachi in South Nashville, one of my top 10 favorite places in Nashville. I think of it as like this little city inside of a rec hall. There's cobblestone roads and colorful buildings selling everything, and there's like 17 restaurants and a bar, and they had this massive TV, and it was just one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. But in terms of the World Cup as a whole, obviously I am very happy. But I think that for a lot of U.S. soccer fans, it was really disappointing. And then I think also the disappointment kind of added on when, Ronaldo and Messi, the 2 legends, right, that most U.S. soccer fans have grown up knowing, didn't really do anything. To lose to such a young team, I think is a little harder on these older guys, these older legends. But it is just that, a young team. So you've got these guys like Lamine Yamal, like Nico Williams coming up and really, going to show their talents this upcoming season. So I'm really excited about that. I'll be watching La Liga games. I'm a little torn. Lamine plays for Barca, and then you've got Marc Cucurella, who is my absolute favorite player. He is signing with Real Madrid, so I think that's going to be really, really cool to watch. That rivalry kind of come to a head. But yeah, I think the World Cup. I think it kind of showed that it is a new time for these young kids to step up and kind of outdo these legends, and I thought it was really exciting.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I think if anything, we learned about the future. To Spain, to your point, I did a little research. Like Spain's very young, so don't be shocked if you see them competing. Being up there in the World Cup and especially in international play down the road. I think you hit on something very, very important that I think does need to be discussed, and that simply put is the United States, and the fact of the matter is people aren't going to like the performance. But here's the thing: I think I don't want to repeat myself from the last time we were on the show, but it's about investment. And when I hear people like Alexi Lawless, and I'm like, I tune out kind of almost immediately. Like I said, I know people who work at Alexi, yeah, that's a different. But I think it speaks to the greater concern. And I think like I hear like, oh, when is it going to be like I said, the U.S. men's soccer team reminds me of the Dallas Cowboys. That's the best equivalent because I hear like this is our year, and you've done nothing to show the improvement. It's like it's with Dallas. Oh, great, you go to the wild card round, great, you get to the divisional round, and then you clunk. You haven't made it to a conference championship. We're talking a Super Bowl. You can't make it to your conference championship. And that's how I feel about U.S. men's soccer. I'm like, can we at least get them to the final 8, the 4th before we start having conversations? And I said I got caught up. I'm like, yeah. And then like when I saw that what the Belgians did, like they made it look like I'm like I'm good, and they did it at Lumen Field. They did this at home of the defendant. That's even worse.
Yeah.
It's like it was like that was hard to watch. And like I say, with Christian Pusilich, I look like there's potential there, but I look at it once again. I still look at France. I still look at Spain. I still look at these other teams. It's gonna be curious how to see the Argentinian team looks post Messi, but like even England, Jude Bell, like, the future is like Team USA. We have to invest. I said this, and I'll say it again. I don't want to sound like we have to invest because really, I'm looking forward to the World Cup next year. I'm looking for the team for the women's. Look at I said last week. I showed you the stats. Those are the numbers. 10 World Cups, and they've somehow finished in the top 3. I think in all but one.
Yep.
People say, "Oh no, it's about." There's great international female soccer players that played like Marta for Brazil. Like we invest. Like Trinity Rodman. Like over here, Trinity Rodman, the Carly Lloyds. Abby Wamba. Like I could go on and on. The Mia Hams. Like the Brianna Skirt. Like we invest. We invest in great coaching and great play. And I think the point that Alexi is missing is, and someone mentioned to the chat a couple weeks ago, it's the European. You have to adapt. I think U.S. men's basketball learned that lesson. Like we dominated. Yeah, we the dream team in '92, and then it's like, oh, we stopped being dominant because Spain, Argentina, even like other teams picked up on, like in look at the NBA now, is international influence. So I don't know what to tell people. Like I said, I'm no big city lawyer, but but on that high note, so hopefully, if you're a men's soccer fan, I guess I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, but shifting gears. Speaking of, I do want to shift from one kind of the global scale is over, so now we can start focusing on we got baseball. And at some point, we might do a division by division thing. We'll see. We'll start giving our predictions for NFL division. So we haven't forgot about the NFL. We know it exists. We know it happens. But with baseball, we got I think the trade deadline is a week away, about a little bit of a week away. And it's fascinating looking around the league. When I look at it makes it really hard to decide who are the buyers and who are the sellers, because it feels that given the extra wild card spot, of the 32 teams, you could argue 80% of them feel like, hey, we can get into the playoffs, as opposed to the like 5-10 years ago where it's like half. And so that's what makes the trade deadline interesting. And I'm very curious, um, from the perspective of there's certain teams I look at and go, if they add pitching, because I think pitching is very hard to acquire. I'm not saying batting isn't, but like pitching, you have to give up something pretty good. And this is the argument that I always made about like, oh, trying to get, like a Paul Skeens or a Tarek Skubal. Listen, your if they give you a price, you're not going to get it. You're not, because essentially we're talking your farm system, a starter right now. Are you willing to sacrifice your farm system to get a Paul Skeens and a Tarek Skubal? And there are positions right now, especially Detroit, where it feels like it's still competing. And because despite Cleveland's kind of shaking, that other team in Chicago, I won't say their name on this show. Their socks are of a different color. I think they're white, I believe. Not sure. They don't wear really white socks. I think that's a terrible. Like we have a cub. Actual cub is the mascot. They don't even wear white socks. They had a scandal too. But we're not going to get into conspiracy theories. But so, with all that being said, I'm very curious to see your thoughts on the MLB trade deadline. I'm curious to see your thoughts on what teams are you looking for to potentially make the moves. They're probably that pitcher, or that they're that batter away. They're that cleanup hitter away from being a contender. Because we could talk about the Dodgers can't be beat. So it's like, it's just they look all the stars, yeah, great. But like if you put a decent team up together to get there, I think it's interesting. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the trade deadline, teams that you feel like be movers and shakers, teams that who you think be buyers or sellers.
I think that this year in particular is really interesting. I think that the biggest headline of trade season really isn't a specific player, Tarek Skubal aside. I think it's the market itself. I feel like normally by late July we'd have about 10 to 12 teams selling, but that we don't have that, not even close. Like you said, with the addition of the expansion of the wild card, I think many front offices are hesitant to wave the white flag right now, and that kind of means a demand for elite talent far exceeds the supply that there is right now, especially with how many teams are needing it. I think in terms of buyers, I think the Yankees are going to be my number one buyer. Their biggest need is starting pitching. Judge is an anchor for the lineup, but in October, it's been shown that over and over that elite rotations win championships. The Yankees, they've been linked to several high-end arms in recent reports, I think. But I think adding someone like Mason Miller underscoring the urgency to upgrade, right? But their second need, I guess, is, late inning bullpen help. But that's just kind of something we've seen. I think the Phillies are also going to be some buyers. They need to add another impact bat. Bryce Harper can't carry this team. You've got Schwarber. He provides that power. Trey Turner, he provides that speed. But they really do need someone in the middle of the order to kind of put it all together. And then I think the Cubs. They're kind of in this like win now mode. And they already have a phenomenal offense. What they need is bullpen. Again, going with the theme. I think the Dodgers are going to be really interesting as well. On paper, they're stacked, but I think that that's exactly what they want. And I think that they're going to make some sort of quiet move that doesn't necessarily dominate the headlines, but I think that it'll become big in October. I think sellers, as far as that goes, is as badly as I don't want to say it. I think the team to watch is the Tigers. I think at this point it's shit or get off the pot. And you've got Tarek Skubal and his team, Scott Boras, constantly in the media saying one thing. You've got AJ Hinch and the Tigers front office saying another, and it's exhausting. It's giving LeBron, I'll be honest. But it's either he's traded for one of the largest prospect packages that I think we'll ever see, or we end up extending him. But I think that really depends on Tarek Skubal and how hard he believes in Detroit, and if he's willing to kind of meet somewhere in the middle price-wise. I'm not saying that the $19,000 we offered before arbitration was adequate, but I would expect him, at least slightly as a fan, to have that kind of Jose Ramirez mindset, right? Like I'll give a little if you can give a lot. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, but everybody wants him, right? He's the best ace we've ever seen, at least I've ever seen. So that means that Detroit could demand something massive in return, and that I think is a pro of selling. But I think a con is you don't get someone like Tarek Skubal every day. So do we want to, like you mentioned, kind of put ourselves back instead of looking at the future? I don't know. But I think, to say the least, it's going to be interesting, and I think it's going to be one of the most fast-paced trade deadlines we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because when we talk about Tarek Skubal, I think if you're the Tigers and you look at the division, and right now there's games to be, but right now you look at where the Tigers are standing right now in the AL Central, they're fourth. They're 6.5 back. Only the Royals are worse. So if you're the front office, and I think we saw the similar situation with Paul Skeens, when the Pirates were kind of similar in the position in the NL Central. But right now the Pirates are 2-3 games above 500, and it's like we're not surprised. Valdez, and they got O'Neill Cruz. Like Paul Skeens is off the market. So the focus is going to be on Tarek Skubal. And at this point, that's why I say pitching is always at a premium. You have to give up top prospects. It's like you can't skate by and be like, you have to give up a load to get it. And you mentioned the Cubs. To me, it's like basically we have a starting rotation on the IL. So it's like, we need, but the problem with the Cubs, really, to your point, is just when we get into those mid to late innings, I'm concerned. And it's a concern I've had for years. I'm great with the offense. I'm good with Suzuki. I'm good with Pete Crow. I'm good with Michael Busch. I'm very good there. I'm very happy. It's still pitching. And when other teams are looking for pitching, the price goes up. It's simply put, and to use this, it's marketing. It's used like a market. It's supply and demand. If you're the Tigers, everybody wants Tarek Skubal. But listen, understand this: the Tarek Skubals, they don't grow on trees. So if you give up Tarek Skubal, you have to get back what you perceive to be fair and equitable. Because I don't care what league it is. When you trade a player, you're never going to get back that exact value. You're simply not. So it makes it tough because, they're like Kevin Gossman's out there, Freddie Peralta's out there. But the question is, you would ask about Tarek Skubal, what do the Tigers want? And our team willing to pay the price? That's what it boils down to, this trade deadline. Because at the end of the day, we saw teams, trades can make a difference. And I think if you're in the market for a hitter, I think you could go to Colorado because Colorado's Colorado. We'll leave it there. But I'm very curious to see with this trade deadline going forward because I don't know how you trade a guy like Tarek Skubal. Listen, I'm not the front office. To be clear, I'm like, if I were the front office, I'm like, Like we can pay him, and like let's not be silly about it. Kevin McGonigal, you have a future there. There's a future, so it's not like it's bleak. It's not like, oh man, we got nothing. No, you got Riley Green. You still got, like I said, you got Kevin McGonigal. You got Kerry. Like there's still a foundation there. You get like outside of school, like the rotations. I'll put it like that because I can't think of a word in the English language to describe it. But like, so if you give him up, you got to get a starter. You got to get something to go like a young starter because you're not gonna trade Terry Schoolboy, a veteran guy, to get another veteran guy. You need a younger. Look at these farm systems. Get great young pitching, which is going to be the core. You get a great bat because maybe some of the players down the road, contract wise, maybe like hey, have something there. But I'd be super curious to see. I look at the Tigers. I look at the Cubs. I look at the Yankees. The Yankees are a team to look out for because the whole Aaron Judge thing, I think it's an issue. But if they can get pitching, I'd argue a catcher maybe. Listen, I'm listen, not my bread and butter. Listen, I'm just here talking sports with somebody I really like here. So like far be it from me to be a big, So I'd be super curious to see what teams like Detroit does, because if we learn from the Pirates, like you'll listen, but it has to blow you. It has to blow away. Like it has to be. It's essentially, if I could put it into NFL terms, it's like essentially you're trying to trade for like a Patrick Mahomes. If you're trying to trade for a young, I look at for the Falcons like a Bijan. You have to give up everything. Are you willing to give up picks? Are you willing to get? What are you willing to sacrifice to get the best player? And we've seen the Rams model. We don't care about draft picks in LA. We'll go get Myles Garrett. We'll give them equity in the team. We don't care what it takes. We'll get him here. And hey, does Chloe Kim want to come in the booth during the game? She can come too. We don't care as long as we get Myles Garrett here. It's a whatever it takes mentality. So but the point remains is that yeah. So I just be curious to see what this trade deadline, and we'll see when we come back to the show soon. In the coming week, we'll see how the results go. But shifting gears, we talk about trade deadlines. Now we get to an All-Star break in the WNBA, and let me just say this: I'm like, it's very rare for me to sit up here and to say, could a rookie win MVP? And I said we had to have that conversation. If you haven't watched how Olivia Miles has played basketball, this is the thing I always say, like they had the second overall pick. Like, were they bad? Yeah. Well, you don't have Nafisa Collier. You're not going to be, she's the anchor of that team. But this year, they would have got Olivia Miles, despite having Kayla McBride. And I'm like, I don't know. But I trust Cheryl Reeve. She's the winningest coach. I trust her. She has multiple championships. And she is looking like, I think Nafisa Collier said, you're an MVP candidate. And we got to have that conversation. You're in that conversation with Asia Wilson where and of course you're going to have people that are saying, oh, well, no, if you take Olivia Miles off, like I argue, me personally, I don't want bias. I throw Paige Beckers in that conversation. People like, oh, you're a UConn guy. I sure am. Yeah, you're darn right. You're darn right. I'm not going to try to veer up the swearing, but you put Paige Beckers in that conversation too. And this is the point where when I say that, it's for the people who sit there and tell me about, that other person who plays in Indiana who plays point guard. What Paige Beckers has done for the Dallas Wings, and also shout out to Jessica Shepard as well, her 9th triple-double, which is the second most, second most in the history of the league. If you take Paige off that team, the Wings, they're a lottery team. I make the same point. Maybe Olivia Mott, but listen, at the end of the day, it runs through Vegas. Period. until someone tells me that Asia Wilson is not the best player in basketball, and some people who are fans of a certain player may not like to hear that narrative because they think basketball existed 2-3 years ago. So it's like I'm just so fascinated by it. So with the All-Star break coming, before I tangent, I promise, folks, we're winding down. I know I'm trying to calm myself down. I promise you. Like, oh, he went on a rant last week. Yeah, I know. I'll get you out of here by 6:45. Like, calm down. But so I hopefully will see if my screen actually did it save. Oh, did I save it? Let's see. Add to Google Slides. Let's see.
I'm excited for this.
So let's see here. Did I actually? Okay. Did it pull up here? Or did it actually save? Because it probably. Oh, wait a minute. Did it save? I'd be like, yeah. Christmas miracle? I know. Listen, if you work with me, I don't want nothing for Christmas. All right, work. All right, there we go. All right, folks, we can end the show right now. We can wrap this thing up. So WNBA All-Star game, Saturday. It's coming this weekend, and here's your team. You got Team Cynthia Cooper versus Witherspoon. Look, listen. People say, "Oh, here comes the bias." Listen, I'm split because as a Seattle Storm fan, I see Dominique Malalonga. Listen, go watch. If you didn't like, you can like how Seattle played against the Lynx. They played close, and that's why I say about the Seattle team. Listen, we're not going to be great this year. Give us a year or two. Once we figure out, maybe get the guard and maybe get that. So I got Dominique Malalonga. I got Angel Reese. Two players I like. Marina Mabry. Expansion team. Oh, they're not going to be great. She's shooting threes like she dominated the game, and I watch and I go, you can't do that, but she did. So what do I know? And then I look at the team Clark here with like you got Olivia Miles, you got Asia. Like I tell people this, and this is a tip where listen, don't bet All-Star games, don't because if you want to bet anything, bet the points. Don't bet who's going to win, because I look at this and I go, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if we got close to 200 points, because in these All-Star games, defense is always optional, or the Bengals' defense the last couple of seasons. That's what I like to say. If you're in Cincinnati, I don't apologize. Just go to Pro Football Reference and look up your stats. But so when you look at this roster, you look at this matchup here. Anything sticking out to you? Do you have a favorite or?
Because I don't know. I'll be honest. I think this is going to be one of the most, if not the most exciting All-Stars we've ever seen. These rosters kind of show everything that the WNBA has gone through and where they're at now. You've got those big powerhouse vets, Asia, Stewie. It's going to be awesome. But then you've got those newcomers. I mean, you've got Paige, you've got Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, you've got Olivia Miles. It's just so. I mean, this is what an all-star team is, in my opinion. This is the definition, So I think it's going to be really exciting. But I think that the both teams are pretty balanced, and I think that it's going to be, really exciting watching Olivia Miles. You and I can't praise her enough. We always go off on tangents about her, but just seeing how she's played, but also carried herself with this kind of newfound stardom, Yeah. It's really fun to watch. But yeah, I'll be watching our girl Angel and our girl Paige. But I'm really excited. I think that this is, like I said, one of the best all-star rosters we've seen. If not just WNBA, maybe in sports. I think it's super balanced. You've got, like I said, the vets, and you've got these newcomers, but you also have the middle of the pack, powerful players, and I think it's just going to be really exciting.
Yeah, 100% agree. Because, look, and the thing is, Jordan Canada from the Atlanta Dream if I say she got snubbed, it's but you look at this and you go, well, who do you take off to put on? And it's always that classic debate. because we got Alicia Gray, we still got three dream players on these respective rosters. I like Malalonga. Personal, like I say, maybe biased. We're going to see Flau'jae. She's going to be hosting the, I think, All-Star week.
Yeah.
So, like I say, I love seeing like Malalonga. I love seeing Reese. I love seeing how we don't have to talk about the person who's in that other corner. And it's like there's more headlines to the story than her. While that particular person could be the quote unquote face of the league, sure. But is she the best player in the league? No, because the best player in the league is that one who wears number 22 that happens to be on her roster. Until you win an MVP, until you four, and multiple finals MVP, you have to start comparing her to players in the NBA because there's nobody that does it where it's comparable. Listen, I'll say this because I didn't realize this was a great transition. I didn't realize this. That when you do this a while, the brain. But listen, she's better than her man, like who plays for the Bama, who happens to play for that team in Miami. Listen. Oh yeah, Bam. Oh yeah, like okay. How many MVP? Like listen, people say, oh no, Bam's better. How many MVP? Like listen, he's not going to admit it. Yeah, she crosses him up one-on-one. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want Heat fans to come in. Oh, you've never seen it. I've seen A'ja Wilson play. I've seen A'ja Wilson develop her game to the 3-point line. Has Bam can shoot threes, but no, we're not doing it in America. Don't trap yourselves. That's the lesson. So speaking of the Heat, we can't leave the show today without legal reasons. Before we get out of here today, and by the way, listen to this episode, every episode of the Sports and the World podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Somebody on this show who wasn't me, because listen, if you do the count, I've been wrong. Listen, I'm betting like 49-50%. Like if I was running an election, that's not terrible. but in terms of like somebody on this show mentioned the Heat. And if you saw on the media, you saw a certain team leak a certain link to something that could be happening soon. And it could be LeBron, Aloysius Maleficent James taking his talents back to South Beach. Which, at this point, I'd be shocked if he went anywhere else because it's one of the teams that you talked about. I think I talked about. It makes a whole lot of sense, given Giannis is there and A'ja Wilson's boyfriend is down there. You see, America, it works both ways. You see how I took the narrative and I put her name. Yeah, it's great. Oh, who's Bam Adebayo? That's Bam Adebayo. Like, no, that's A'ja Wilson's boyfriend. That's how he will be addressed. Just like with Simone Biles. Who's Jonathan Owens? No, that's Simone Biles' husband.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, but is it the other way around? Nah. You got gold medals and MVPs? They don't. Sorry. But anyway, before I get letters that I will not read, by the way, I will not read them. I will be watching HBO Max. I will be watching Apple, and I will not read your stuff. But anyway, before we get out of here, give me your thoughts on that leak. And do you think that pretty much LeBron to Miami is pretty much a lock?
I thought that leak was nuts. It was July 27th, LeBron James preliminary introduction conference. I don't know. There's two things it could have been: an accident and a leak, or that could have been strategy from the team for some reason. Again, that's not our business. I'm not an expert in, player relations and negotiations in that aspect. But I will say, I do think Miami's a lock. I do think he's stupid for not going back to Cleveland and ending his legendary career in his hometown, the team that, he loves the most. But again, it's LeBron James. He can do whatever he wants. And I think that the last time we talked about this, one of my reasons for him going to the Heat is people like to retire in Florida. And I think that that's going to stay true. I feel for Cleveland fans. I feel for them, one, not only because LeBron's probably not going back to Cleveland, but two, because this is so drawn out. I understand the dramatics and the theatrics, and I get it, but you're LeBron James, and it's going to be dramatic no matter what. So I feel like, he's kind of playing in Cleveland fans' faces now. And if I were them, I'd be mad. I'd be really mad. But again, it's one of their idols. It's one of their legends. And so there's, two sides to every coin. But yeah, I do think he's going to Miami. I think he fits on the roster. I think it's a championship caliber team with Giannis and LeBron. I think he wants to retire somewhere nice. That's Florida, create that life for him and his family moving forward. But yeah, I'm ready for it to be over. So here's hoping to a decision tomorrow so that we can all move on with our lives and Cleveland fans can get some healing.
Yeah, even Adam Silver's like, listen, we got to release the schedule, man.
Yeah.
The season's supposed to start in October. It's July, buddy. We got 3 months to do. Like, there's work to be involved. And essentially he's saying that he's kind of holding back the league. And I'm like, listen, I think it'll be over within the next 24 to 48 hours, maybe 72. Because at this point, the World Cup's over, and there's no real big story. Like, you dominate the headlines, you'll dominate the sports.
Right.
So hopefully Miami will be, because if for Cleveland, it made a lot of sense. But I get it. It's because there's familiarity there with Miami, with Pat Riley. I'm kind of shocked that he would go back given the personality Pat Riley has. I'm like, oh, there's no way. But, once again, like we said, what do we know? Like, we don't know what's going on. But nonetheless, before we get I'll work at the outros later. I do want to sneak out of here and say that I want to talk about the AUSL, great soccer. I'm gonna say soccer. Edit that out. I'm the editor. Oh, yikes. We'll keep it in. We'll keep it in for the blooper reel. The Great Athletes Unlimited Softball League. There's the championship play-in game. Two great teams. You got the Chicago Bandits, and you have this Portland Cascade, one of the two new teams in the league. I suggest you check it out. Chicago's offense is as good as it gets. They can hit, steal. They hit for average, which is always important. They get on base. Skylar Wallace, one of the great, leads the league in base stealer. And you got Portland Cascade, this young team, veteran. They got Megan Grant, the great hitter from UCLA, all-time single-season home run record. They got, Sam Landry, Carly Hoover starting on the circle. It's going to be very fun to watch. So I guess you watch it tonight. It's going to be great. The winner gets to face the defending champion, Utah Talons. And let me tell you, Montana Fouts, Georgina Court, Megan Paramo. In a 3-game series, that's who you're going to probably face. And there's not a lot of, the only team who I feel it may be biased is Chicago. Because the rematch, we might get the rematch between Chicago and Utah. I wouldn't be shocked. But Portland's young. They got some veterans on there, but don't be surprised. It's going to be a great play-in game tonight. And the winner will face the Utah Talents with the series starting on Saturday. That's the plug I'm giving you as someone who writes Beyond Women's Sport. That's the plug, because I always forget to plug the things that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If we've learned the things that on this show, I forget the memory 20%, 80-20 rule. Like, listen, 80% of the time, bam, 20%. I sit down, eat a sandwich, and go, oh, I should have said that. And that's so luckily I remembered it. But friends and future friends, what we got here, Hailee, tell the amazing people where they can find you and everything that you do.
You can find me and my crazy opinions on all social media platforms at the Hailee with 2 E's Murphy. And yeah, hope to see you soon.
Yeah. So listen, no excuses. It's all everywhere. My stuff is everywhere. Her stuff is consistent because, like I say, Instagram, there's _Brown out there, and
no way.
For years. And I can never, every time I try to change, oh, maybe this is the day. Nope, today's not the day. And it's been like that, I think, ever since I ever had Instagram for years. But anyway, so you can find me on Twitter and I just said that. On Twitter and TikTok. There's a lot of T's. It's like Wheel of Fortune. But you can find me on Twitter and TikTok at LaDarius_Brown, Instagram LaDarius _Brown. Check out the Facebook page we have for the Sports in the World podcast. Check out the writer editor for Beyond Women's Sports, writing about the AUSL. Been writing about it all season. WNBA stuff will be coming soon when the championship game dies down for the AUSL Cup. So follow us here. Listen, follow all our stuff here on social media, our clips and things. And also drop your opinions and your thoughts because we value them too. I promise. People say like, oh no, we don't. I'm not gonna throw them away. I'll actually keep them. Well, it depends. No, I lied. No. But friends and future friends, this week's episode of the Sports of the World podcast. For the amazing Hailee Murphy, I'm LaDarius. Be real, be you, be blessed, and be safe. From all of us here from the Sports and the World podcast.